Mazen, it's been a pleasure meeting you after a very, very long time. I still remember you as one of the leaders who always stood by your principles, did not hesitate to challenge status quo, and had a laser focus on business and business outcomes. So it's been a complete pleasure for me to invite you to this conversation, Leadership Dilemmas. And as we know, organizational leadership has never been more important than than now, because of the simple reason that we are living in the world of what they call it as VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And the VUCA is only increasing day by day.
Right.
And so leadership engagement is unraveling complex scenarios and key dilemmas that you have to resolve on a day-to-day basis, and both from a short-term and long-term perspective. So I'm here to talk to you about some of the leadership dilemmas you have experienced in the years and years of global leadership roles that you have been in. And as an introduction, I'm Raji Ramanan. I'm the founder and principal of Strategic Solutions, and we do some path-breaking transformative work, particularly in the field of AI and organizational evolution with our client organizations. And one of our favorite topics is to discuss leadership and leadership dilemmas. And as an executive coach, I have seen and experienced many leaders I've interacted with actually go through several dilemmas, and the challenges, how they manage and how they resolve them. And you, Mazen, have seen always, you've been in the forefront of resolving such dilemmas. So, Mazen, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, and then we can continue our conversation.
Sure. Uh, I'm really happy that you have invited me to come and talk with you about this. It feels that we've known each other for a very long time and we learn from each other. At least I have learned from you a lot of things and lots of the principles. It's because we share most of these principles. And successful people come together. So here we are together.
Absolutely.
I've been in the business for the last 50 years now, I can say. I have been working from the lowest of the lowest, where I was pumping air in private jets, wheels, and to leading organization around the world, internal organization and external organization. Various fields, energy, pharmaceutical business, engineering, contracting, whatever, manufacturing. And I have learned from all these experiences, and I have faced so many things. But I believe that the principles are the same. It's how we approach them that is different. How we deal with them is different. So in essence, this is me. I'm passionate. I love to learn. I love to share my learning, and I love to hear from other people their learning experiences as well.
And I remember, Mazen, when we met, you had the most challenging business context and geography as well, in Middle East, particularly focused on Saudi. In the engineering consulting company, we worked together, and I first saw you being hired as the GCC leader to build our business and grow our business in a very complex business environment, but also in a very important transitory phase of the organization we worked in, where we were evolving from a US-centric, Midwest-based organization and leadership and business sentiments and business processes to actually moving to a country organization. And you were one of the first and foremost, along with our Indian business leader, to actually launch the country organization. So I met you at a very important phase of transformation of an organization, where you played an important role in terms of making a change not only happen, but make it stick and make it sustain. So Mazen, I have seen you, as I said before, by the way, I've learned a lot from you. And I've enjoyed working with you, especially when you would challenge status quo and when you would basically battle for the ultimate business goal in completely moving out of the past, moving out of the legacy, to trying new ideas and making the change that is inevitable and making the change that is required for business success. So, in that context, I want to talk to you about a scenario where, if you can recollect from your experience, not just from the organization we work together, but your
Yes,
complete leadership experience,
sure.
how did you manage the dilemma between preserving the core versus building the future? On one hand, you're working for an organization that is probably 100 years old, and
Yes.
it's evolved and grown its footprint from a Midwest US focused operation to growing in 40 plus countries. We have the legacy which we are forced to carry on, but we also have to build the future. And you were in the nerve center of that happening. I've seen that. How did you approach that? And what did you do to basically meet the challenge and evolve yourself and evolve the business?
Well, my first approach is thinking of drawing a map of where I am. It's like a sailor. He must know where, or she must know where she is or he is every time, they blink or they look around. So building a stakeholder map, internal, which is the company that we were working in, the leaders, the people. Not everybody was on the same page, as you know. Some people were encouraged. Some people were saying, no, it will not work. Some people will say, why did you hire this guy? Some people said, great that we hired this guy. So you have to understand all that and be aware of it. At the same time, we have the outside world. We have where we are. We have India, we have Saudi Arabia, we have the GCC. And it's like trying to couple two pipes that are different sizes, different categories, different specifications. And you need to be the coupler in between those things. So I call it more, I don't want to call it chief executive, but I want to call it chief balance officer. You have to balance what you see to what you are going to be doing. Len Rodman, who was leading the organization, was really the reason that I joined, because he told me it is the culture that I must focus on. And that was, I think, one of the best advices that I received. It's not the technology, it's not the people, it's not this, it's the culture. If the culture is not working, then I don't think anything else will work. So here we are, like rightfully you said, Midwest company, 100 years old. When they go on vacation, they go to Florida, to Disneyland. And here we are, the rest of the world. We have India, we have so many religions, we have Saudi Arabia, we have so many focused things. And we have two different cultures that are coming. They want to do the business. The meaning of a single word is different. So I also had to be a chief translating officer at the same time, not only a chief balancing officer. So many hats, Raji, one has to wear. And obviously, there are challenges, and when there are challenges, there are people that have different views and different agendas. And you either have to decide, are you going to submit to that agenda? I always remember that I am the responsible person. At the end of the day, whoever is leading that company will look at me and he will say, it failed because of you, or it worked because you worked well with the team. That's the dilemma you have. The principles you have, how to apply them. I think that was a big challenge for me. At that time, I was not yet, I admittedly say I could have done better in applying those principles. And, it's like you holding a rope between you and the other person. If the other person pulls the rope, you have to give them a little bit so that the rope does not get cut off. If they let go, you have to pull so that it doesn't touch the ground and lose the tension. Too many challenges, and it was very, very rich experience for me. But as I said, I will not change my principles. I will change the way I am applying them. I will modify them because not everybody is the same size. We have to modify the approach. And like you rightfully said, you use the word situational. And I think this is one of the most important lessons any person can learn. Situations are different. You can act today this way, you act tomorrow that way. Somebody will say, "What? Why did you? Why not the same?" Well, the situation is different, but the principle they stay the same.
Mazen, I think you said it so beautifully. I've worked with so many leaders in the last 28 years of my career, and you are one of the leaders who I have had pride in working with just because you had that courage, what I would call it as the leadership and managerial courage to push back, but also to have literally common sense and the way you talked about people being the nerve center, it's not the business. Business will happen, but if you don't focus on the people and carry people along with you, business will not happen, right? So
Right.
I really understand where you're coming from, and I've always admired you for that. And one of the things I've also seen is where you have been placed in a dilemma situation where there is an immediate firefighting that has to happen. We need to have our presence felt. We need to be part of this forum. We need to be a part of this group in terms of getting visibility to build our business. But on the other hand, you have to do some firefighting within the system or even within our ecosystem, the immediate environment as such. So, in such situations, can you recollect what has been the situation where you had to trade off between the immediate and the making the organization and our preparation to do the leapfrogging in business, making it future ready? So, on one hand, there's firefighting. On the other hand, there is this goal of becoming future ready. Can you
Yes.
recollect a situation where you had to do a trade-off and how did you approach it? What would you tell our audience in terms of how to face and resolve that leadership dilemma?
Yes. We are always in this situation, Raji. That's, I think, why God created two eyes for us. One eye we have it on today, and one eye we have for the future. You know, we cannot ignore the firefighting or the situation that comes up this morning or this afternoon. We have to be active in it. As long as we keep looking still for the future and building the capabilities of the people, building the capabilities of the organization. So both eyes have to be, working together and at the same time. Always, always, always we have situation. A phone call from a client who is unhappy about something. I cannot say, "Oh, I am busy thinking about, the November meeting." We have to solve that problem. And if I solve that problem and then I go to the November meeting, I cannot say, "Oh, by the way, I was busy doing that on there, so I am not ready for this meeting." What is important and what has helped me tremendously is communication with my team. If the whole team, you know what, I cannot even express how powerful it is to get one person with you. Can you imagine a whole team? Because 1 + 1 in working in an organization is not equal to, it's much more than two.
Mm-hmm.
You have to communicate with the people, let them know where are we going, how are we going to get there, and what are the progress that we have achieved. Once we do this, the power, the strength that is created is really fantastic to the point that it can solve today's problem. You have to have a team that works for today, and you have to have the team working for tomorrow. And that is the best thing for my experience. I found it to be very helpful. And sometimes it's frustrating to others because they see you in command. Oh my God, this person is in command of today's issues and he's in command of the tomorrow's issues, and that makes them frustrated. But for me, it was a pleasure all the time.
And I've seen that all the time. I have never seen you lose your cool. I've never seen you with a frown face, even with the hottest of topics that's being discussed in the meeting. and multiple views and dimensions coming at you at any given point of time. I've always seen you smile and keep your cool. So, resilience, when you have resilience as a strength that you would utilize to get that balance that you talked about, how would you actually reconcile the dilemma of focusing on performance versus focusing on culture and values? Have you come across a situation, I actually think you have,
Yes.
where you had to get the job done, you had to push for productivity, performance, and action, and on the other hand, there is values and culture that is being compromised and that's being eroded, and you had to do a trade-off and
Yeah.
resolve the dilemma. So, can you tell our audience
Of course.
how did you approach that?
One of the jobs that I had at the beginning of my life was the manager of a utility company in the city of Mecca. And Mecca, as you know, is a very important place during the pilgrim. Millions of people come there, presidents, kings, high dignitary people. And here I am responsible for the electricity company. And people are supposed to have power continuously. They cannot have any interruption. They can't even have a blimp. If they have a blimp, it's a big disaster. So here I am leading 2,000 people to make this happen. What do I do? So I thought we sit down and we think. So I brought my team with me, and this story will lead to the answer to your question. I sat with my team and I said, what is the worst thing that can happen today? And they said, we lose one of the transmission lines that are coming to the city, and that will make us lose half the power coming in. So we build up we build up 5 or 6 or 7 worst things that can happen. And then we sat down and said, okay, if this happened, what do we do? And we listed a process whereby each person is responsible for something. Step number 1, we make a phone call. Step number 2, we collect the team. Step number 3, we go to this location. So and we rehearse. It's like when people do, the emergency procedures. If they have a fire in the building, they go through the fire and then they go through the process and they just, pretend that there was a fire. So we did that. Everybody knew his responsibility, and everybody knew what he's supposed to do, and everybody knew what he was going to be interacting with. However, not everybody did that. And when I see this, I bring the person and I ask him, do you understand what you were supposed to do? And if he says yes, I say, then why didn't you do that? Are you not happy with it? If you're not happy, you can come and tell me. We can locate you somewhere else. My process here, Raji, is not to keep quiet, and then build up the unhappiness inside and then blow up at the end of the day. No, we should not do that. People have to know what they are supposed to be doing, how they are doing it, and then they go and they do it. And you as a leader, prepare them, provide them with the tools needed to do their jobs. And if they don't do it, you just ask calmly why they have not done it. Maybe they don't understand. So you have to explain to them. But if they don't want to do it, if they're not happy with the organization, I tell them, I will be very happy to relocate you somewhere else, to give you a letter of recommendation, to go somewhere else. If you're not happy with us, tell us why. Maybe we can fix ourselves. Maybe we are the problem. So communication here is also very, very, very critical and I think that the culture here is sometimes it's people do not accept this as a culture. They don't accept that you come and you talk to them this way. But if you talk to them in a productive way, they will accept. If they don't accept, that makes it easy for you to say, okay, then we have to part. And we don't have to part in an ugly way. I don't have to fire you. You don't have to resign and go. We just part in a nice way, you know. We prepare you to part to go somewhere else. That worked every time.
I clearly see how you would focus on culture and values and not compromise that for performance and achieving your targets. There would be a balance.
Yes.
I want to also like to kind of hear from you. How do you look at being frustrated with non-performance and disengagement of the team versus mobilizing them and motivating them? You have a team that needs to be engaged, that needs to fire from all cylinders, and instead of getting frustrated at that not happening, how would you, as a leader in the past, what have you done to resolve the dilemma of, on one hand, getting frustrated versus, hey, I have to turn this situation around and get them engaged and motivated and perform? So, can you recollect a situation when you've done that?
Yes. Yes, of course. I don't want to say the secret. I don't want to say the solution, but the approach is not to get frustrated. Do not reach that stage. I have a relative who loved his wife and she abused him for 10 years. And then after 10 years, he decided, nope, I'm not going to accept this. So he blew up and he killed her. That's not the way to do it. Why did you wait for 10 years? You know, we can communicate. I will not allow myself to get frustrated. If a person is not performing, like I said, I will bring him and I will have a lunch with him. And I will say, look, let's go and have lunch. This is not working. We need you to be in Saudi Arabia. You cannot be in Dubai. If you are in Dubai, yeah, if you are in Dubai, yes, that's nice, that's good. But at the end of the day, you and I will be sitting down, asking, answering questions. Why wasn't it working? So this is not going to be working. So I cannot go to Dubai. You cannot come to Saudi Arabia. So let's find a solution. What do you suggest? And he said to me, find the people that will come to Saudi Arabia. I'm not willing to come to Saudi Arabia. So I said, okay. So there was no frustration. So we went back to the boss and we said, boss, you know, in order for this to work, you have to be in the field. And because you are not in the field, it's not going to be working. So the answer to your question, Raji, is let's not get into that frustration, because when we are frustrated, we do not perform well. We perform more with passion than we perform with logic.
Perfect. One last question now, Mazen. You have really focused a lot on developing your people. I have seen that we've worked together on a rotational program to actually get young engineers perform through the challenges of the different parts of the organization to get them groomed and get them move up the career ladder. So, what do you think about focusing on just high performers and high potentials? If you have a budget to do a program, would you just carve out the budget for high performers or spread it amongst your entire team to give an opportunity to develop each one of them, whether it's high performers or everybody in the team? How would you resolve that dilemma?
Well, we ideally, I think you and I agree 100% that you want everybody to be high performance. And you want everybody to continuously raise that level of performance. If they do 2 today, they want them to do 3 tomorrow, and so on. You want them to be continuously challenged and upgraded. If people do not, if they are not top performers, as again, you have to communicate with them and find out why. And the training or the improvement that they have to learn how to get into performance is the responsibility of the leader. Here, the leader has to wear his chief learning officer to start guiding the people and to explain to them and to communicate with them and to help them. And I have seen that, once people are good by nature. I don't think people are evil by nature. I think people are good by nature. When something wrong, then they become bad or they become unhappy. But if they know the pleasure of learning and then they know what they are going for and targeting for, they perform extremely well. Always one of the example I give is the leader is like taking the team to a bowling game. And then there is a sheet that is covering the pins of the bowling team. And the players throw the ball, it goes under the sheet, they hear the pins falling down, but they don't know which pin fell down. So the leader job is to raise that sheet so that the people can see and aim at the pins that they want to hit. Such a simple process that a leader did can improve the performance of the team and the results of their performance by so much. Continuously people have to learn. If they don't want to learn, then that's not a good sign. Then we have again to ask. We should not wait and we should not separate them and we should not ignore them. Why they don't want to learn? Maybe it's not the thing that they want to do. In one of my organizations that I worked with, I think before I came to Black and Veatch, I was talking to one person, he was really not performing very well. And I said, why are you not performing? He says, I'm a lawyer. I am not an engineer. But they put me in that job. And I said, oh my God. And we were outsourcing our law business outside. So I said, my God, we have this resource inside here. So the minute I put him back again where he was, my God, Raji, his learning, his performance, he became a top performer in that organization. We really have to know how to place the people, and it is both ways. You as an HR person are much more familiar and knowledgeable about this than me. You can teach me more about this. You as an HR leader have to let always the leaders know how to achieve. They know what they want to achieve, but how to, I think that's your fantastic job, which you have been very successful in doing.
Thank you, Mazen. It was such a pleasure having this conversation with you. I hope our audiences will benefit out of all the leadership lessons from you and the dilemmas you have resolved in your rich career and experience in the Middle East, particularly in the Saudi GCC, that whole geography, which is a very complex business environment, and to lead the business outcomes and lead the multicultural efforts to do business and hold the people together. I'm sure the audience will benefit out of your experience. Thank you so much.